All right. Good evening, everyone. We'll get started real soon. Okay. Good. Okay. So we'll get started for this week's market analysis session over here. Yeah. So great. Welcome back to the new week. Very quickly, let's take a look at what are some of the events that happened last week. To quickly summarize on that. And then we'll look into this week's event calendar, and then as usual we'll jump into the charts and walk you through some of the analysis. And I'm already seeing some very decent setup for the week. Okay, so we'll talk a lot about that in a while. Good. So last week's primary focus was mainly on the Canadian CPI. Nothing much of a surprise in terms of the movement of price. So there isn't much of an event in terms of this release. But as of Friday, if you actually keep an eye on the Japanese yen related, we did see a sudden spike in JPY strength, which means if you're looking at like dollar yen, euro yen, cat yen, etc., the price of those currency pairs actually came down very, very aggressively in a very short period of time on Friday. Okay. But just before the market closed, there was a pretty strong rebound back as well, which means dollar yen kind of strengthened for a short period of time, and then it weakens back, right? Kind of retraces back. We'll take a look into the charts later on. But you can see on Friday there isn't much of a Japanese news, and that's actually one of the potential quote unquote risks of trading the JPY. As well as the Swiss franc, right? Because the Japanese, doesn't really announce a lot of stuff publicly, so you can't get a lot of like potential surprise event. Okay, so usually again when something is unplanned and there was a surprise element, the market tends to move more volatile. Okay, so that's what we saw as of last Friday, in particular to the JPY. If we come over to this week here, the focus will be very much on Bank of Canadian, okay, as well as the ECB side of things, right? If you take a look at Bank of Canadian, again, the overnight rate is an expected of 0.5% hike, okay, and in terms of ECB here, the expectation is a 0.75%, right? So from 1.25, it's a very, very aggressive hike to 2%. Okay, and on Friday, we have the Bank of Japan. Okay, so these are very important events happening at the later part of the week. And to end it off, we have the US Core PCE Price Index. This is also important because if you look into it, this is actually one of the primary indicators that the Fed tracks in relation to inflation. Okay, so that's going to be important as well. Okay, so this week, today and tomorrow is relatively quiet, but going into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it gets very eventful. So if you're trading any of these related currencies, do be aware of it as well. Okay, there might be extra or higher volatility if there's a surprise element to it. Good. Okay, so that's to keep you guys updated on what's for the week. Now, very quickly, let's jump into the technical analysis portion over here. We'll start off with the dollar index. So in terms of DXY right now, there are two primary potential possibility of how I'm planning this right now. Okay, one of it is quite straightforward. We have this little bounce. This is definitely a corrective structure. Then this can start to go higher towards back at 114.75. This will be one of the potential scenario. If that's the primary case, then we'll be bullish on the dollar for this week, right? At least for the near term towards 114.75. Now, alternatively, what can happen is we can also see it as a triangle is developing. Okay, so if that's the case, then we're going to continue to see more consolidation, and eventually this would have a higher chance of going up as well. So overall, okay, if you hear some background firecracker sound, over here they're celebrating Deepavali. Okay, so if you don't hear the background sound very clearly, then that's good, right? So you can focus on my voice. But if you hear it, there's really nothing much I can do. Basically that's Deepavali, right? If you're also celebrating that, then great. Okay. I mean, if you're based in like Singapore, Malaysia, you'll be having a holiday today. Okay. Yeah, so back into this. So the second scenario over here is that if this developed into a triangle, we still expect more upside. Okay, so either situation here, we are still expecting bullishness for the dollar after it. After it have developed whatever it wants, we're still expecting more upside. The question is more of, does it go up sooner, or does it need more time to develop before it can hit higher? Okay, and as long as the price point of dollar index stays above 110.05, we're gonna be bullish on it. Okay, so that's my bias. That's the overall plan that I have for the dollar index for now. Okay, so if you're conservative, then you want to maintain a neutral perspective and give it time to develop. See whether you're gonna get more of a triangle setup, or it can start to hit higher from here. Okay, now suppose you don't trade the dollar index. I think the euro dollar is setting up a very, very decent potential opportunity as of now. It's quite clear in terms of the structure at this moment from this little peak around parity, which is 1.0000. We have this quite strong impulsive drop. At this moment, we can see a very clear 1, 2, and of course wave 3 seems to be developing. If we put in a channel, we have a confluence here at 100% Fibonacci extension around that 9945 area as well. Okay, so that zone can give us a potential sell opportunity because of this pattern of an impulse correction, and we're expecting at least one more drop as well. Okay, so a very aggressive way of entering, of course, is to simply look for a sell pending limit around 9945 with a potential stops above parity, right? So your stop loss is quite tight. It's just about like 50 plus to 60 pips, and the potential downside can be quite rewarding. Right. Now, of course, if you like to go into a little bit more of a detailed way of execution, the ideal aspect here is that this would develop into a crawl. You can time this a little bit with the potential ECB news event coming in as well to create that kind of movement, that volatility that we might need to see this drop. Right. So if we are kind of combining that perspective and we're expecting euro dollar to drop, then we would likely see a disappointment in the ECB interest rate, right? So just now I mentioned that the market is expecting ECB to hike it to 2%. So perhaps on Thursday, if ECB doesn't do it, it only hike it to maybe 1.5, 1.75. That might be a very clear-cut disappointment, and the euro might drop, okay? Or it can also hike it to 2%, but maybe the ECB press conference is going to be dovish, okay, and say that, all right, that's about it. Maybe in the future we're not going to be so aggressive and things like that. That could also result in taking profits off the euro, and the euro dollar might also drop. Okay, so that's one way to look out for it. If you're very, very conservative, then this is a key level for confirmation, which is 9705. You want the market to break that before you look for a sell if you're conservative. Okay. There are many ways to execute a trade. We'll not be able to kind of fully discuss every method out there in today's sharing over here because it's going to take a lot of time, and obviously I wouldn't know. Okay, I wouldn't know what's your style. Okay, what's your plan? So there's no way we can really discuss into like the details of the execution. Okay, but the objective here is to really highlight key potential opportunities that you want to monitor. Okay, you definitely need to have your own strategy and your own trading plan to get involved in trades. Okay, so euro dollar, pay attention to that. Pound dollar over here, which is right now, to me, this is quite clear as well. We'll kind of see a very strong impulse push. Right now, it seems to be developing a corrective pattern. And most of the time, as a corrective pattern, we can expect at least a minimum 3-wave move. and therefore we might have a short-term sell potential to around 1.0870 area. Okay, again, this one here you might want to go down into maybe on the lower time frame, okay, to see if you can get a sell setup. Now for me, a sell setup perhaps would be more of like, you know, this goes back up, it gives us a pattern that you have show a little bit of a double top. Okay, then you can take the 1 hour break to the downside. That would be, to me, a valid entry. Okay, so pound dollar here, maybe you need to give it another 1 or 2 days. Maybe this setup to the downside would present to me maybe on Thursday or Wednesday, right? Maybe late Wednesday, early Thursday. Okay, depending on how the market develop. But pound dollar here, I think this week is presenting a pretty decent setup. Okay. And then next we have the Aussie dollar. Now last week, later part of the week, we did not really have that opportunity. I mean, we only run this on Monday. So Monday I did, if I recall correctly, I did share a little bit about Aussie as well, and we talk about it if I recall correctly. So if you manage to catch the trade, you know, again at the top of this channel, then it's a very solid trade. If you do, my suggestion here is just shift your stop to break even. Okay, so initially this is where I put my stop, shift it to break even, make sure you take away any risk that's involved, and let the market decide, right, how far you want to go. You manage it accordingly. That's about it. Okay, one thing to also highlight, you can see, is that this pattern here, okay, which is a 1 2 3 coming back at the top of the channel and then a very nice rejection, is actually what we're anticipating that's happening on the euro dollar, right? Different sizing but quite similar in the pattern. Okay, and that's exactly what we are trading, right? Very similar setup that happened on the Aussie, playing out very well right now. And of course on euro dollar, it's still developing, and that's what we're expecting to see. Okay, now in terms of Aussie dollar, if you're not in the trade, you know, you're not in any sell, my suggestion is you don't want to rush in here, because we are already halfway through, getting near to the previous bottom of 6170. If you enter here, your risk reward is definitely not gonna be good. Okay, so don't suggest you to enter if you don't have a sell trade. Now, if you're still interested in a sell on Aussie dollar, my suggestion is to go down to the 1 hour, see if you can get maybe in the next 1 or 2 days at least a decent kind of like flat pattern on the 1 hour chart. That will open up a possibility for you to sell. Okay, if and only if you get that, right? So yeah, that's on Aussie. Okay, in terms of dollar Canadian, it's a little bit tricky right now. Again, there are possibly quite a few ways of how price can eventually develop into, but this is my primary forecast as of now, right? Price seems to be respecting this channel very nicely, so as long as it's still within this channel, respecting this, then we can continue to expect this to keep dropping towards 1.35. Okay, so over here, as long as the market is maintaining below 1.3850, which is here, okay, we're expecting this to just keep continuing like that, right? Slow, corrective in nature, but generally in a downwards direction. Until the market is able to break off this level, if it does, then we might also see it as a potential kind of potential head and shoulder pattern. Okay, and if that's the case, then it opens up for more downside, right? So I'm bearish on the dollar Canadian, but now at this very moment we don't really have a setup. Okay, but of course, if your strategy does give you a trigger entry, you can of course consider take a sell. Okay, so the direction on this is downside. Okay, another one that I don't really look at very often, but I think this week might be a decent opportunity, okay, is actually the dollar franc. So if you take a look at dollar franc right now, even on this scale, we kind of get a very nice, what we call a crawl, right? So we have this pattern here. It's lacking the momentum, so it's suggesting a reversal soon. And what I like about this is right now we are seeing a very nice little push down. This is developing as a flag. Still early, but it's showing sign of it, right? And if that is able to break down, then we can take this all the way down, okay, towards this level around 9745 or 9740, right? So that's where if I were to very quickly put in some key levels for you to reference, the invalidation level here will be 1.0150. That means as long as price stays below that, we expect more downside. Okay, we expect more downside. And this is the primary target, right? 9745. But if that level breaks, it actually opens up a little bit more downside, where you can look for maybe somewhere at the bottom to be conservative, this area, or even all the way down here. Okay, so we have a lot of room that we can really exploit. But for now, if the market can come back and tag the 8745 with a sell trade, it's actually pretty rewarding. Okay, so one way to look out for it, I would suggest, is to go down to the 1 hour scale. We have the first push. This seems to be coming down. Second push. If you can get the third push up that looks something like that, you can consider to take a sell here, okay, or you can consider to take a sell at a breakout. This will probably need to give it another 1 to 2 days, so maybe by early Wednesday, okay, you might get that trade. So keep an eye on that. I think dollar franc is one of the pair that you might want to focus this week. Okay, so that's the one. And of course, if you take a look at the dollar yen, okay, that's where the strengthening of yen happened on Friday, and then that's where I say a sharp retracement back up to 50% immediately within that same period of time. Usually when we see something like that, we don't touch it, okay, but I just want you to see it's actually a very, very big move, okay. In a 4-hour span of time, the dollar yen moved from 151.5 to a low of as low as somewhere around 146. Okay, so 151 to 146. That's a 500 pips move within a single day. Okay, that's crazy. Yeah, that's huge. But I did share this from time to time with fellow traders as well, especially when the market has been going up, and there wasn't much of a decent reset or decent retracement. You want to be very, very careful, because whenever the market retraces, it can come back very, very violently or very aggressively, right? And that's what happened on Friday. Okay, obviously I wouldn't know what would cause that kind of drop. But from a statistical point of view, whenever a market move in a particular direction without much of a reset or a retracement, you just want to be careful, because when the retracement comes, it can really be very, very fast and aggressive, okay, which is what we saw on dollar yen. Okay. Now, moving forward this week, I think you don't want to touch the dollar yen. Overall, you just want to maintain a very neutral and be patient with it. Okay. So other than that, let's go to the gold chart. Now last week, again, as I mentioned, we only able to share this on the Monday. But as we progresses closer towards the end of the week, we continue to see a crawl, right? And we came close to this area here, which is a previous bottom where the market reacted. We have mainly two things that comes together. One is a crawl and one is a double bottom. Okay, so that kind of give you that high probability, high chance of a reversal, and that's what we got, okay, on Friday as well. So gold actually rejected the 1615 area impulsively. So right now, moving forward this week, we're definitely holding on to a bullish bias. As long as 1615 holds, we're going to be looking for a buy. And if you go down to the 1 hour chart, we kind of had our first wave of retracement. If this goes back up again, this comes back down. If we can't get something like that, it will be naturally a very decent buy trade setup. Okay, so keep a very close watch on that. You might get this setup in the next maybe 2 or 3 days, which means the setup might come to you on Wednesday or even Thursday this week. Okay, given that this needs to do correctively, it needs to be developing rather slow. Okay, so keep it on gold. I think that's where the opportunity is as well. Okay, in terms of crude oil, we had a very sharp retracement, but now it seems to be stalling a little bit. While we are maintaining a slightly bullish perspective, what we want to see is a very strong break above 8665 to give us that confirmation that the market wants to continue higher. Okay, so this one here, if let's say this breaks but it goes slow, okay, then you want to be careful because this can then still develop into something like this. Okay, so be adaptive to what the market is telling you. That is crucial. Okay, so for me, as of now, I can only share with you what we are seeing at this moment. Okay, if this breaks off strongly, then there's a good chance this will just keep going, and we'll see more upside on that, right? So let's take a look how the market will develop. Okay, S&P, if you're trading on the general indices, I think you want to be, unless you're doing very short term, you might be able to look for a short-term sell trade back to this again. This kind of suggests that the market momentum to the upside has been slowed, so you want to look for a potential short-term reversal first. If you're looking for intraday, you can look for that. If you're not, then my suggestion is give it time and see if this comes back before you take the buy. If you're more of a swing trade, I think this week on the general equities, you're probably not going to get anything. Okay, so just be careful and be patient. Okay, I mean, you have so many other opportunities in other things, right? So just focus on those. Okay, Ethereum, if you're trading on cryptocurrencies, we are now testing the previous mini high around 1300, which is 1300 plus level. We have this break. Okay, so the question now is, can this continue its momentum upside? If it can, then great. You would have a very solid opportunity for more upside. If let's say the market can't continue a strong momentum up, and from here it starts to stall and slow down, you might want to take away any buy trade. Okay, you want to take out the buy trade because this suggests that this can come back down. Okay, so that's on Ethereum. Okay, so I see that some of you have questions as well, right? So before we answer those questions, very quick summary first. In terms of like some of the potential pairs that I would suggest to keep an eye on, includes the euro dollar, the dollar franc. Okay, these are more of the top two priority. And then if you're looking at gold, definitely add that into your list. If let's say you're more of a short-term trader, then you can consider the pound dollar, okay, as well as a little bit on the dollar CAD, plus where is it? Okay, plus the S&P, right? In terms of this here, if you're very short term. Good. Okay, good. So let's see some of the questions that we have. Where is it? Okay, so one of you, Ibrahim here, okay, asked about Euro Swiss franc. Okay, yeah, so Euro Swiss franc here is still looking very decent for a sell. I mean, this here is basically a very similar setup to the dollar franc, right? So you can see that we have a crawl. You can see that we have this significant high. The market is basically testing that. Therefore, right now, a higher probability direction to focus is definitely downside. Okay. For me, I think there are two key levels to look up for: 9740, and the other one here is 9650. Okay. Of course, first TP, second TP, right? And one way to look for a potential trade is to wait for the breakout. Okay, so if you take a look at it, it'll be something. Let me just remove the double top line, right, so that you don't get overly confused with it. This will put you somewhere around 9820 for a potential break. And if you're looking for a trade, then your potential stop can be just above that recent high, somewhere around 9885, right? So if you're looking at this, it's also considered more of a short term, because if you take a look at the risk reward here, it's just 1:1. If you go for this, then it gives you about 2.4. Not a super solid trade. It's definitely valid. And I would say this is a short term play. Okay. Yeah, so this is still valid. I think I shared this last week as well. Yeah. Emmanuel here asked about Swiss yen. Okay, so very quickly, let's take a look at Swiss yen. Swiss yen, this was previously done about harmonic patterns. I wouldn't really suggest to focus on this pair for the week. Okay, it's not so straightforward. There are a few things that is happening, and again, it's not like we're lacking of choices. So I would say this one here, probably you wouldn't want to touch it much, right? We have this little structure here, which we might see a little bit of a push up and rejection back down, but it's not the best, right? So for me, I personally wouldn't suggest to look at it. Okay, at least for this week. James here says euro dollar rushing towards the sell setup that I mentioned just now. Not really there yet, okay, because I mean, the potential area I'm looking is like 9945, and the price is basically trading around like 987 or 988. So I don't think that we want to get involved today. Okay, so the idea again is you need to know what you want to see or how you want the market to develop before you kind of get in. Just now I mentioned I want to see this potentially going up very, very slow. Combine that with Thursday ECB, you know, on the lower time frame, you might look for the breakout to the downside, right? That would be the ideal setup. Okay. However, if you're more aggressive, okay, you can of course put a sell pending limit here. But just take note that you want this to go up still slow. Okay, you don't want it to go just like suddenly one impulse candle up. If that's the case, the momentum is strong, this might just continue higher, right? And for that reason, you wouldn't want to be selling. Okay, so yeah, okay. I mean, there's no best technique out there, so just understand that each strategy each entry style would have its strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Another question over here is Euro Kiwi bounce off a significant level on H4, but overall I'm still looking for a sell. Euro New Zealand. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's play back a little bit, right? I mean, prior to what has happened, you know, when this was still how the market looked like, we're definitely looking for sell because of, you know, topish formation. We have this lack of momentum already, and the market is starting to U-turn. Okay, but you also need to be very clear. Like, if I want to sell this, I want to see a very strong drop. Okay, because that's the whole idea of a potential reversal. You want it to go fast, right? But moving forward to where we are right now, you can see that the market did drop, but it didn't really come down fast, right? In fact, now if you take a look at it again, you know, what has it been doing? It came back to this bottom and then it bounced. Okay, so again, you want to be adaptive to what the market is telling you, right? I mean, you wouldn't want to sell this anymore based on this pattern here. Okay, why? Because then what is happening here is basically consolidating, and there's no edge. There's no real clear edge because again, I wouldn't want to buy. The reason is because if you take a look at how far this market has extended without much of a bigger correction, I did mention, at the start of today's session as well, most of the time when that is the case, the correction coming back down can be quite aggressive, right? So I'm putting all this into it, and that doesn't really give me the confidence in buying. There's no reason for me to sell it now as well. So when I'm in this kind of situation, I'm just staying away from it. Okay, so Euro New Zealand is again one of a pair that I probably don't want to spend too much time this week. Okay, hopefully that helps, right? That kind of thought process help you to understand why. Okay, another one that I see over here is Kiwi franc playing out as dollar franc. Still looking for a sell. Yeah, so just be aware, right? Because you're talking about like Euro franc, dollar franc, and then we have the Kiwi franc. Okay, just be aware that the franc does have certain correlation, right? Especially if you're looking at all this franc pairs. Okay, yeah, just be aware of your risk exposure, okay? Because you don't want to sell every of the franc, because when something happen and the franc go against your position, you're gonna lose all of them concurrently, and you do not want that. Okay, so be aware. Yeah, so yeah, you can see like Kiwi franc is actually reacting to kind of this pattern. Not the best, not the ideal, but you can also see this from an angle of a channel, right? And not the perfect channel reaction, but we kind of get this as well, right? Like the fibs. Okay, so you can place this here as a WXY, and we have a very decent reaction. Okay, so this is kind of like this pattern. You can see we talk about it in Aussie dollar. Okay, different scale. We talk about this in Euro dollar that is potentially developing, right? And then we have it in the Kiwi franc that is also reacting very nicely, right? So of course, not all the time this pattern will play out perfectly as what we want, but it has certain probability of working out. Okay, and that's all we need. Okay, and again, you don't need a lot of patterns that you need to trade. Again, if you only trade one of this, you realize that it happens frequent enough that you will have opportunity from time to time, right? So again, all these little nuances and details hopefully helps, right? By such a session on a weekly basis, hopefully it helps you guys as well. All good. Okay, so with that, again, the objective here is to keep the session sweet and concise as well. Okay, the main objective is to really share with you guys some of the things to take note of, some of the opportunities to focus for the week, and of course to interact and answer some of the questions that you guys have. Now, very quickly, I also like to share with you two dates, right? I mean, sorry that I don't have the time to prepare the slides for these dates, okay? Because quite last minute we decided on these two dates. Okay, this is more for those of you who are based in Malaysia, in KL, right, Kuala Lumpur. We have, together with Zenfinix, okay, we have planned two physical events. Okay, so first of one is 9th of November, okay, and the other one is gonna happen on the 19th of November. Okay, so one of it is on Wednesday. Okay, so this will be an evening event. Okay, and the 19th of November is actually Saturday. Okay, and this is gonna be our afternoon event. Okay, so the topic, I mean, I'm gonna be the speaker for the event. but the topic itself we have yet to decide. Okay, so what you want to do, okay, is to let me show you the QR code. Okay, what you want to do is I flash the QR code on the screen right now. Okay, take out your phone, scan this QR code. It's gonna lead you to a Telegram channel. So this Telegram channel is actually Zenfinix Malaysia Telegram channel. Once you join to the channel, then you'll be updated on future events or any notifications that they have. They'll put it up into this channel, and then you'll be notified, you'll be informed. Okay, and of course, especially on that 2 events that's upcoming as well, right? Once we confirm the venue, the exact timing, the topic, then you'll be informed as well. Okay, and if let's say this is something that interests you, okay, and you see the value in it, then register for the event, and I'll see you on those days. Yeah. Okay. So on top of that, we do have our regular offers and benefits for you guys as well, right? So in collaboration with Zenfinix, my side over here is providing you guys the 4 trading pillars masterclass. Okay, for those of you who have joined us for some time, you probably know about this. The 4 trading pillars masterclass is actually from zero, teaching you all the important principles of currency trading, to give you a holistic understanding from fundamental, technical, sentiment, risk management to trading plan development and psychology, to give you everything basically you need to become a holistic trader within a week. Okay, so that training is actually online. The retail price that you can find online if you go to my website is around $69. But today you can get it for free, okay, together with Zenfinix. So what you need to do is register for your account with Zenfinix, register your trading account with them, verify, okay, and then make a small deposit of $500, and you can get this for free. So this $500 is your money, is your capital, so you can actually trade. And from Zenfinix side, because you deposited $500, they're gonna give you an addition $150 bonus. Okay, so in total, you then have $650 that you can actually trade. Okay, so if you want to find out a little bit more, or you want to understand more of this, feel free to reach out to the Zenfinix team as well. Okay, so if you're in Zoom, pretty sure you have their contact, the support team, okay, through WhatsApp. If you're on YouTube, okay, I've actually put in the link in the description box as well, so you can actually click on the link. It will lead you to Zenfinix web, the web WhatsApp, okay, the web WhatsApp, so you can actually reach out to them, ask them for more information about it. Good. So hope that helps. That's all from my side. Okay, all the best to your trading, and as usual, reminder, manage your risks, and we'll see you guys in the next event. Okay, very quick, I think one of you asked what's the date. The date is here. Okay, but in terms of like the specific time, we haven't really decided on that yet. Okay, but these are the 2 dates, right? So if you're really keen, then free up these 2 dates, okay, so that you are able to attend and join us in KL. Good. Okay, so that's all that I have over here. Okay, so all the best to your trading, and we'll see you guys soon again. Okay, bye bye.